The knock came so softly that at first Alex thought he imagined it. The apartment was quiet in the way only late nights could be, not peaceful, exactly, but stretched thin, as if even sound was too tired to exist. The kitchen light hummed above the sink, casting a pale glow over a single mug left from hours ago. On the couch behind him, his daughter's small jacket lay folded, ready for morning school, a reminder that sleep was something he always postponed for later. Another knock followed, hesitant, uneven, like someone unsure whether they had the right to interrupt a life that wasn't theirs. Alex checked the clock. 11:47 p.m. His first thought was trouble. Something leaking. A complaint about noise that didn't exist. Maybe a package delivered to the wrong door. He wiped his hands on his jeans, already tired before the conversation even began, and walked toward the door with the quiet caution of a man who had learned not to expect surprises, good or bad. When he opened it, the hallway light spilled into his apartment, and with it came her. She lived next door. He knew that much. He knew the sound of her footsteps through the thin wall, the faint music she played sometimes late at night, the way her door clicked shut every morning at almost the same time as his. They had exchanged polite nods, brief hellos, nothing more. Neighbors in the purest sense, close enough to exist in each other's orbit, far enough to remain strangers. But standing there now, she looked nothing like the composed silhouette he passed in the stairwell. Her hair was loose, not styled the way it usually was, falling unevenly over her shoulders as if she had run her hands through it too many times. Her coat hung open despite the cold, and her fingers were curled tightly into the fabric at her sides, knuckles pale. Her eyes met his for half a second before drifting away, as though holding his gaze required more strength than she had left. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, voice low, rushed. "I know it's late. I just—" She stopped. The pause wasn't dramatic. It wasn't practiced. It was the kind of pause that happened when words refused to line up, when the truth pressed too close to the surface and didn't know how to come out safely. Alex waited. Years of parenting had taught him that silence, used gently, could be an invitation rather than a wall. "It's okay," he said. "Are you all right?" That was when she laughed, just a little, sharp and hollow, like a sound that escaped before it could be stopped. She shook her head once, then again, slower this time, as if the motion itself was heavy. "I don't know," she said. "I don't think so." The hallway seemed suddenly too narrow, the air too still. Alex became aware of the way he was standing, one hand still on the door, his body angled defensively out of habit rather than intention. He stepped aside without thinking. "Do you want to come in?" he asked. "Just for a minute." She hesitated, eyes flicking past him into the apartment. It wasn't impressive. It wasn't mess either. It was simply lived in. A pair of worn sneakers by the wall. A small bookshelf stuffed unevenly with children's stories and old paperbacks. A faint scent of detergent, and something warm that lingered from dinner. She nodded. As soon as she crossed the threshold, something shifted. Not between them exactly, but in the space itself, as though the room had taken a careful breath. Alex closed the door behind her, gently, so the sound wouldn't echo. "I'm Alex," he said, realizing belatedly that they had never actually introduced themselves. "I know," she replied. "Your daughter talks in the hallway sometimes. On the phone. She laughs really loudly." He smiled despite himself. "Yeah. That sounds like her." She stopped again, pressing her lips together before trying once more. "I'm Emma." They stood there, two people suddenly unsure of where to place their hands, their eyes, their attention. Emma hovered near the door as if she might bolt at any moment. Alex gestured toward the couch. "You can sit," he said. "If you want." She did, perching on the edge rather than settling in, her back straight, her shoulders tense. Alex remained standing for a second longer, then sat across from her in the chair near the window, keeping a respectful distance. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, somewhere far below, a car passed, its headlights briefly painting the walls with moving shadows. "I didn't plan this," Emma said suddenly. "Coming over, I mean. I was walking. I do that sometimes when my thoughts get too loud." Alex nodded. I do the same thing. Just inside my head. She looked up at him then, really looked, as if measuring the weight of his words. Her eyes were tired in a way that makeup couldn't hide, but there was something else there too, an intensity that suggested she had been holding something in for far too long. You always seem so steady, she said quietly. He almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he shook his head. That's just what it looks like from the outside. Emma's fingers tightened together. That's what everyone thinks about me too. The words lingered between them, fragile and exposed. Alex felt a familiar pull in his chest, the recognition of another person carrying more than they could comfortably bear. He didn't interrupt. He didn't rush to reassure her. He waited. I have everything I thought I wanted, she continued, her voice dropping. A good job. Independence. People tell me I'm doing great all the time. She swallowed. But at night, when it's quiet like this, it feels like none of it matters. She leaned forward slightly now, elbows resting on her knees, gaze fixed on the floor. The hallway light still filtered under the door, casting a thin line across the carpet like a boundary either of them had crossed until tonight. I hear you through the wall sometimes, she said. Reading to your daughter. Making up voices. Laughing even when you sound exhausted. Alex felt a flicker of surprise. He had never considered that those moments traveled beyond his apartment, that someone else might hear them and feel something in response. It sounds like you belong to something, Emma went on. Like you're needed. He exhaled slowly. I am, he said. But that doesn't mean I don't get lonely. That was when she looked at him again, really looked, and her composure finally cracked. Her eyes shone, not with tears yet, but with the threat of them, with the weight of something pressing hard against the surface. She stood up suddenly, as if sitting had become unbearable, and took a small step toward him. Alex remained still, his instincts alert but not alarmed, attentive rather than afraid. Her voice dropped to a whisper, barely louder than the hum of the refrigerator. I wish someone would love me, she said. The words weren't dramatic. They weren't dressed up or softened. They were raw and simple and devastating in their honesty. She took another step closer, not touching him, not reaching out, just closing the distance enough that he could feel the warmth of her presence, the unsteady rhythm of her breathing. The space between them felt charged, not with desire, but with vulnerability so sharp it almost hurt to witness. Alex didn't move. He didn't pull away. He didn't lean in. In that suspended moment, with midnight pressing in on all sides and the quiet thick around them, he understood something important. This wasn't about romance or impulse or loneliness colliding in the dark. This was about a human being standing in front of him, brave enough to admit the one thing most people never said out loud. And he knew, with absolute clarity, that whatever happened next would matter far more than either of them realized.